competition, full of confidence that they will be able to push on and maybe get themselves to the medal podium. The Canadians finishing 6th in London 4 years ago in this competition. Argentina not competing in the Paralympic Games in London, and there are the standings so far. The 2 matches played for Great Britain, they sit atop, and then Canada in the final qualification position. All 4 teams from the group stages will go immediately into the quarterfinals after they have played their preliminary matches. So this, for Canada, is another step potentially to being able to guarantee a position. Argentina, it really is make or break time. They're going to have to come up with the game of their tournament in this one to take on the mighty Canadians, who, as they prepare now for the introduction of both of these teams, this inside the Rio Olympic Arena and the early stages of day number 3. Argentina set in readiness in the royal blue with the white lettering, and they'll be now announced out onto the floor. So their eldest player, the 49-year-old, led out CASTALDI, number 4, all the way through. Their number 8 is their captain, CORONEL. She is 40 years of age, a classified player at 2.0. But the scoreline so far for Argentina, a defeat to the host nation, Brazil, by a score of 85-19, and then equally to Great Britain of a score of 79-20. So for the side, it is going to be a challenge for the coach today. And there you just saw Carlos Cardarelli a moment ago there in the foreground, and he standing attentively, wanting to make sure that his side are as best prepared as they can be. And he has coached this side. Last year it was in the Pan Am Games in Toronto, and he was the leader of them, and equally in the 2013 Pan Am American Youth Games in Buenos Aires in Argentina, when in fact they were the hosts of these games. There is McLaughlin, nicknamed Gino. That is in favor of the former Vancouver Canuck ice hockey player, Gino Ojic. She comes from Vancouver, and then her real running mate, the 2 of them, Cindy OUELLET, number 7, just coming out onto the floor there. OUELLET, a French-Canadian, but she now resides in Los Angeles in the United States. Her story is an interesting one. It was cancer in her hip as a youngster that led to her becoming a Paralympic athlete. But there the Canadians fully introduced and out onto the floor. It'll now be the playing of the national anthems to commence action. great always to hear the national anthems and both teams being acknowledged with the playing of it. You'll see often in sport the victorious team getting their national anthem played at the end of the match, but this is really a great bit of pageantry and sportsmanship. Those are genuine moments of appreciation, respect. There's Cardarelli, the coach for Argentina, as they exchange gifts, and equally with the shaking of hands and real genuine moments of appreciation for one another. There, the final that was coming across was Cindy OUELLET, the 27-year-old. She's the one to really be looking out for. The two of the players for Canada, McLaughlin, a 37-year-old, and then number 7, Cindy OUELLET. Those two really run the show for Canada. And in their opening matchup, McLaughlin with 21 points, OUELLET with 14. But they really, as a 4.5 classified player and a 3.5, Bill Johnson in charge of this program. He's been a part of the men's program, equally the women's. And now fully in charge in this, the Rio Paralympic Games, the wheelchair basketball competition for Argentina. As we say, it's going to be potentially a difficult day at the office. Maria PALLARES is the one with the most points scored over the couple matches that they have played, and Cardarelli, who has led this side most recently at the 2015 Pan American Games in Toronto. He knows that with only the scores that they've had so far, 39 points accumulated over the opening 2 games, that offense is their challenge. And I'm not sure the Canadians are going to give them a whole lot of respite here. McLaughlin and OUELLET, 1 and 2, number 5 and 7 in the roster starting for Canada. Lalonde, Harnock, and Jamey Jules rounding out the lineup. And Canada also boasting a long-time Paralympian as well. She's not getting a lot of time these days, though. And that's Tracey Ferguson, a 3.0 qualified player, the 42-year-old, still a part of this Canadian side, and the 7 Paralympic Games now that she has competed in. So the result for Canada in the one game they have played, a victory by 7 points over their Commonwealth country, the Great Britain, the mother country, still very much acknowledged by Canadians with the Queen on the coin and also on all of the notes that is the currency in Canada, the dollar bill. They heavily regard Great Britain, but not on the court, as they were able to take them out with that victory. And then Brazil and Great Britain. Brazil, obviously the host nation and the neighboring country to Argentina. No neighborly relations there, a very impressive victory. And then equally Great Britain doing the same. Kersey, the American, in charge. And then on his lines, he's got Lee and Elabid, who will be looking after duties up and down the floor. And it really has been wonderful to see. This isn't a promotional stop. We are responsible for just giving you the goods and the facts, but the Paralympic Games are alive and well in Rio. And as we're underway for day number 3, and it'll be McLaughlin really uncontested as she goes up. She's got that great height, and McLaughlin, formerly a rugby player, who injures herself, and then now a wheelchair basketball, and she's got the Midas touch as she will open up the scoring for Canada. So into her latter years, but you'll see many of these women, mothers, equally wives as well, and they have their family lives and competing at the top level of their Paralympic sport. Actually, McLaughlin resides in Germany, but this will be turned over and taken by Canada. Just thundering up the floor, it's Harnock with control. She's a 2.0 classified player, 33 years of age. So just to give you a quick overview, as there she is again. And you need to just get ready for that, because that's going to be an onslaught you expect of McLaughlin and OUELLET. But there's a total of 14 points allowed on the floor at any one time, and that is spread across the 5 athletes that are playing. And each athlete has a numerical value, Argentina with the first shot up, based on their level of function. So the lower their level of function, a 1.0 would be the lowest level that you would have in wheelchair basketball. That's OUELLET going up, that'll go off the rim, and that does not fall. Up to a 4.5, that's the highest level of functionality. And so, as I say, both or all of the players having those numerical values associated to their classification. McLaughlin will take that right in stride and takes it full flow. So that's how the lineup is assembled 4 10-minute periods across wheelchair basketball, just as it was in the basketball competition in the Olympic Games. And this McLaughlin is having a heyday right now. Is she going to offload it? She's probably feeling just as safe to make the play. That's going to be the hoop. And the bucket to follow maybe from the free throw line now for Canada. They are really having it all their own way. They've jumped out to 8 points, potentially a 9th now from the free throw line. That's the great up and under shot there from Harnock. And a timeout now being utilized by Argentina. Cardarelli, he'll do his best to stop these runs from Canada, but ultimately it could be a difficult and long match in day number 3 for Argentina. Canadians at the free throw line. Katie Harnock with the shot. Will go off the front of the rim, but look at this, the follow-up from McLaughlin. She uses the glass, and she really is in a league of her own right now. Argentina have not got an answer for her in her size, athleticism, her dexterity, her strength, and her reach and extension underneath that basket. And you're really seeing an overwhelming center forward right now from Canada. One of the best in the world in women's wheelchair basketball, and she's got speed as well to be getting away. And you talk about a 5-tool player, she's got it. She's got the shot, the passing, the speed, the power, and the game sense to really play with anybody in this competition. The feed down low, it'll just go off the back of the rim, and Argentina will pick up the rebound. Doing their best to protect it against. You've seen just how potent defensively right now McLaughlin has been, number 5 for Canada. And they'll take the possession off of a rebound. That's a block shot. The long baseball pass up to the very capable hands. The feed into OUELLET, and there it is. It's in and down. Canada have come out and got a dozen points just past 3 minutes into the match, and you could see a real phenomenal scoreline in this particular, because it does matter come the end of the preliminary round, the seedings as to your total points scored, and equally if it comes down to a tiebreaker, it'll come and will be determined as the first criteria, your matchup against the team that you may in fact be level with. But Canada will not be shy, if they can, to run up the score, not in a way to be embarrassing or equally to disrespect their opponent, but they must score the points to assure themselves safety of not wanting to get into a determination where they didn't in fact score enough points because they took their foot off the gas, and that leaves them maybe against a more difficult opponent in the quarterfinal round. All of these small things matter in a tournament like this, and they haven't worked for the journey they have all taken, the sacrifice, the commitment to be a part of their national program. To come up short, all the sportsmanship will be carried out in the course of a match, and post and pre-match, as we have seen already. But in between the whistles, it's all business. Canada with the 2 scorers so far, as expected, McLaughlin and OUELLET. They'll go to the backside. This into the safe hands of OUELLET, into a new score in front, and that one will be taken by number 6 for Canada, Arinn Young. She's a 20-year-old, so she getting her first competition at the Paralympic Games level, and down is the fallen Argentinian. and she needs some support to get back upright. And you'll see sometimes they'll just roll over onto their side and then try to get on their front. And that's even difficult to try to get back upright here, but this was the contact that led to Perez going down. And there really are some difficult tumbles that the athletes do take. And you just never know how the contact with a wheelchair that's just unforgiving is going to in fact impact your movement and which way you're going to fall. It all depends in how it engages your chair. But there Argentina got on the board, and that was a great loft from distance. Always great to see it go off of the backboard and just swooshing with precision into the bottom of the basket. OUELLET, she's got some room. This one will get away, but she's the first to tidy it up, and an offensive rebound for Argentine defenders. Take that away, and maybe that last basket gives them a little breath of encouragement. OUELLET has been everywhere so far as well. She's got 2 points. There's 4 different scores now for Canada. Young, OUELLET. And you see again, that one will not fall. HARNOCK with 2, and equally McLaughlin with 8 so far. OUELLET now with both an offensive and defensive rebound, but there it's pretty noticeable contact on the arm. And it has been curious sometimes, not necessarily in this sport, but if you've watched some of the Olympic sport and equally now the Paralympic Games, some of the contact that the athletes get away with, you really just wonder just what is legal and what isn't. That they're pretty tight in wheelchair basketball. That was a noticeable contact on the hand, and that's going to interfere with any player's ability to try to execute a shot. So at the line is Young. She misses her first free throw. And both of them do not fall. Probably most importantly is the possession again for Canada. The resetting of 14 seconds in the shot clock by right of getting to that. And this into a little bit of a soft pocket. And it's been changed over. And you see all of this that goes on off of the ball. They'll attempt to isolate. Sometimes they do it to a stronger player. Equally, they try to get to a position on the floor as quick as they can and establish that area because they know the traffic is most likely going to go through there. And that's where they try to set up a roadblock in a sense. And that's what Canada have done right now. They've got a triple play of defenders there. It's an easy backside rebound for OUELLET. And then she leads the charge. And as much she's fast breaking, although there are Argentine defenders, she just will step forward and take the available shot. She's now got 4, shooting 50% from the field. Argentinian player, that is really going to be tough to get upright from on the backside. The only real chance that I have seen in the women's competition is getting onto the front. One of the Dutch athletes capable of just with her core strength of snapping up from the backside, but that is a great play, and they use the full circumference of the rim. Very serious looking and focused player, Amanda Jan, but a 29-year-old providing the 2 points there for her nation. And she's got the 4 points so far. So that was LINARI, the 4.0. My apologies. And so she gets the score. She has 4 for Argentina. And then now coming back, that is Young, who keeps the scoreboard ticking over for Canada. She's the youngster. Cardarelli, in many ways, just needing to make sure that some of those easy points that are given up against the stronger opposition, that they just limit the mental mistakes and some of the soft points. You're going to have to concede sometimes. There's LINARI. She's got good speed. And sometimes there are athletes, and there is Tracy Ferguson, the aforementioned. This, her 7th Paralympic Games. And a story and a half from her 42 years of age, and she'll get involved in this matchup. The violation there leads to a change in possession. So Ferguson, a 3.0 classified player. Can they take this one? It's wrapped up. And this, the lob toss from Young up to Ferguson. She'll take that in motion, and she'll take the score. As good a piece of wheelchair basketball as you'll see in the indication as she acknowledges the pass from the youngster, Young. And an exceptional bit of fast break play for the Canadians. Young again just setting up, thinking as though she wanted to go long. She elects just to keep it in control. And we've seen this now a half a dozen times. Argentina just unable to retain their balance and down and needing the help. And out onto the floor, one of the assistant coaches, and just one of these parts of the sport. And now being locked up, the two Canadians in position there. And we've seen it a couple times where the opposing coaches are just as willing to come across and help, particularly at the athletes fall. And the referees do their best to try and make sure that the own teams, their respective teams, come across and offer some support. And it's not to be harsh or a little bit cool to the opposition, because that is by no means the nature of how the Paralympic Games is played. It's just simply about keeping things in their rightful place. And if you're playing at the top level of the sport, then equally the same rules apply in any competition. Every team must be responsible for their own upkeep and looking after themselves, keeping themselves involved and capable of playing. And this for Young. Arinn Young is just starting to nicely run up a score line for herself. That's her 6th point, and she's 100% from the field right now. So look at the shooting from 2-point range, 73%, and Argentina 25. I've seen not quite as good as 25, but you have to be at least in that region. Generally into the 40s is realistically where you need to be if you want to be able to compete for the victory. And the teams that are really doing well right now, into the 50s, 60s, and it's difficult to maintain across a team a 70% field goal percentage over the course of the entire match. But this now, in the last stages of the first quarter, Canada having a good run now. They're 20 points clear, and that's Tamara STEEVES who gets involved. She's a 1.5 classification, and those are her first 2 points. The give and go, and riding shotgun is the Canadian, just keeping this Argentine attack to the outside. The shot clock is no longer their friend. Not a bad idea. That just really boomerangs outside of the rim and comes back, and Argentina do well here. They'll take another shot. They should be able to retain possession and not give up too much time for Canada to respond. But it's in a low position. Needs to get into a shooting position. Much better there. And this is going to need to be some awfully quick maneuvering. Arinn Young needs to get it up and gone. And there the horn will sound, though, before she has a chance in which to do so. So maybe as anticipated, the Canadians with a realistic shot at competing to maybe get on the medal podium in Rio at these Paralympic Games in the women's wheelchair basketball competition. They start strong in the opening quarter. Canada 24, Argentina 4. And the stats, 75%, that really is good going. That'll drop over the course of the match. You can really, that's very lofty to maintain that. And possible, that'll be something the Canadians will try and focus on. They got the defensive rebounds to their credit as well, but McLaughlin and OUELLET really get things started and set the table for Canada. Overwhelming. They really are a 1-2 punch. And there you see McLaughlin. She goes over onto her front and has the power to get herself upright. It's an indication of just her determination. And there really is a self-sustaining approach about these Paralympians. Not looking for any favors, just an opportunity to compete. Argentina with the inbound from the near sideline to start this second quarter of play. And the 4 points that they have recorded so far, they belong to number 7, LINARI. She played all of the 10 minutes. All 5 of the starters did. Coronel, the captain, and LINARI, OLMEDO, and PALLARES and PEREZ all getting the action for Argentina. It's LINARI who'll come out and have a break so far, but look there, PALLARES, another score, and she puts it up. Well, there's a great return. And some balance equally, that's so important. Canada with another threat right down the middle. The strength of Erica GAVEL. She's a 4.5, 25-year-old, and she gets her first points of the match as well. Well, that really is the importance of having depth. 2 players for Canada haven't been in yet, and it's GAVEL now in, who gets her 2 points, and the other is Sales. She's now in. So every single one of the Canadians over the opening 10 minutes and now just into this second quarter have been involved. And there are a handful still yet to score, but the distribution and balance in scoring, that really is an indication of the great teams. There's a position to shoot, and it'll just go off the edge of the rim, right up against the backboard there, and Argentina well placed for that rebound. And it's 3 seconds in the key. The indication there, you saw the referee just counting it out with his fingers there in his hand. And that, just a teaching point and emphasis for the Argentinian, just to know they can't camp out just stationary in the offensive key. So that was turned over. It was OUELLET who tries to make the inbound, and it just gets long. And right out the end of their defensive, you see the count as well from the referee. Argentina now starting to have a little bit of good fortune there, and she is with back-to-back buckets now. PALLARES showing that she is another option for Argentina. And then equally the good response to come out of those shooting situations and then try to take her responsibility defensively. And that's what you have to do against a very strong side. Don't admire your points very long, even if they don't come very often, because all you're going to do is make it more difficult for yourself if you're not back in good support. And there is PALLARES. And that just getting on the player, maybe more the surprise of the ball dropping on her head, maybe more than it really did hurt, but you see the athletes getting in these positions where they're extending for a rebound or equally taking a shot, and they do get themselves in all manner of precarious positions, and particularly as they get wrapped up with the opposing wheelchairs, sometimes their own wheelchairs. And the way they'll fall as they try to retain their balance. There's another score from the Canadians. They're up to 28, and they reestablished that 20-point margin. Canada will pick that up and take the rebound. And the Red Rocket now coming forward. Look at her go. This is number 13, Jamey Jules. She's a 1.0 classified player into the key. And Canada just flirting with a basket there. It goes off the back of the rim and out. So well played tempo right now. You've seen a little bit of a resurgence from Argentina. This is actually level the second quarter so far, 4 points apiece. And you often anticipate it's going to maybe be a little bit worse than it actually is. You get into the flow of the game and it's just about two teams that both want the same thing, an opportunity to perform well, execute their plays, and take their shots when they're available. It does become more difficult. There's no doubt of that. That was a rough ride for OUELLET coming in, and then the riding of the rails for the Canadian. That's number 14, Erica GAVEL, the 25-year-old, and she just trying to keep inside that baseline and maybe just inches out. That's the reason for the call. But you start thinking about what you have to do rather than the ominous nature of taking on such an impressive nation in the sport as Canada are. And they've just got so many weapons, and they've got a size advantage. And of course, those are factors that play on the mind before you get out onto the floor. And that was PALLARES just losing maybe the way she's strapped in, needed to get readjusted. You see that she's got a little bit of a mechanism that snaps her legs firmly in place rather than a strapping. So that just was separated for a moment. You see all this frenetic activity going on, and it looks like a pool of tadpoles as they are just darting every which direction, trying to get away from each other. And it is chaos for a moment, but there is some organized structure to it. They simply are trying to mark their countermeasure, and they will all have assignments individually, but equally you have a zone in which you're responsible for as well. And this right now, that is an almighty wrapping up there. And that is Spaghetti Junction. And whose spaghetti belongs to who? As it will be Argentina with the timeout. And Canada coming across. So still it's the 20 points. And as we see in the second quarter of action, this is the Rio Olympic Arena and the women's wheelchair basketball. And that is McLaughlin, the powerful forward, Janet McLaughlin, number 5 for Canada. I have not seen a player in this particular matchup that can compete with her as yet, and that is no slight to anybody. She's world class. All of these nations are. There's 10 teams total in the women's competition, 2 groups of 5, and then the top 4 teams will in fact go through. If Canada could have got to that rebound, they would have had possession. It hit the rim. So another 14 seconds, reloads on the shot clock. But Argentina now just haven't got a lot of low access to the Canadian basket. That's not a bad looking shot there from PALLARES from the outside. And you really have to be dead on the mark, though, with the angle of that shot, the trajectory, rather, the arc of it. If you're going to score from the low level that they're shooting from, to get it over the front of the rim and to just drop it in before the back, you've got to be perfect. So sometimes you see players definitely from the free throw line electing to shoot it, but it's really a decision about power and how much they can generate from their wheelchair height to be able to get it to the basket. And they maybe haven't got the power or the range that they would like to also arc it with a significant degree as well, as that equally takes just more force in which to get it up there. There's another shot from Canada, and the point's a little bit hard to come by in the second quarter so far. Canadians with 24 in the first quarter, only 4 so far in this one, and equally Argentina has 4. So things have changed, and some adjustments made by Cardarelli on the Argentinian bench. This from PALLARES, and it looked to be on line, but it's just wide right, and it goes out the end of the court. So they'll need to be quick once they get a touch of it. They get 8 seconds in which to get across the line. Canada escaped the one player press coming. That was PALLARES pushing up. She's very mobile and capable. Number 12 for Argentina at the top of the key. She's keeping an eye right now on the Canadian. That's Tracey Ferguson, but inside is another score. And Canada have finally got themselves onto the scoring again. The last one there, that is Young, who will take it. And to 30 they will travel. Still Argentina looking for something inside. Olmedo with that long intended pass, but they're going to have to be able to possess the ball, pass it into a position down low, and really try to ask some questions of this Canadian defense, because the long distance shots, they are rather hopeful, and sometimes that's all that's available to you, but then you are reliant so heavily on your shooting percentage. What a pass that is, and wouldn't that have been a great play from Argentina? And that was PALLARES again. She really has shown herself to be the catalyst for Argentina. She's not been afraid to compete straight up against these ladies from Canada, and equally take an aggressive passing option like that to the inside, and the feed. They're not going to count it though. The foul coming ahead of the shot, and it's deemed as an offensive foul. So Canada with a slick little bit of passing there to the inside. They are not allowed the points though. So still just very low scoring in the second quarter of play. It's 6-4 in this quadrant of the action. It's down to PALLARES. But she doesn't have an option inside. Look at all of the Argentinian players looking to try to get some momentum, and they're going to really struggle to beat the Canadians one-on-one with speed and receive the pass in an open area. They're just going to have to almost move down and establish more of a pick game. Try to pick one of the Canadian players, get some movement off of that in hopes that you've got a little bit of a separation from the defender in order to get less of a contested shot. So this venue, the largest indoor arena in Rio, and it's seen all the world-class musical acts that will come here, the trade shows, Ultimate Fighting Championships, you name it, it's happened here in this facility. And now it is enhanced by the entirety of the Olympic Park and what is a newly developed area right on the coast of an internal lagoon in Rio. So we're not right on the coastline, but just a couple kilometers in from the Atlantic Ocean, as here PALLARES will take her way. We're some 35 kilometers from here, from Copacabana Beach, and Christ the Redeemer from here is about an hour. And equally Sugarloaf Mountain, they're all regionally in the same area, a triangular shape coming in from the beaches of Ipanema and Copacabana, the world famous and the spiritual home of beach volleyball. And also the home was Copacabana of the largest ever concert in history. That in the early part of the 21st century, the Rolling Stones, with 1.2 million people watching a concert in that area, and they performed. And it just goes to show you just how far and long Copacabana Beach does run in Rio. At this now, some substitutions awaiting for Argentina coming in. And they will be permitted onto the floor. This is Castaldi. She's the 49 years of age player. 49 years young as she is out and bringing now some different look to Argentina. And you can't help but admire a lot of these athletes, some of them that have their impairments from birth, equally others who acquire them through the course of their lives. And many of them start even in their adulthood playing sport, and wheelchair basketball as an example. Equally some as well play multiple sports and have done that at different Paralympic Games, competing in different sports and trying to balance that schedule depending on their interest and their capability and capacity to do so. And there for a 10th point, it's Argentina inside the last 2 minutes of this opening half. So they all have incredibly interesting stories, and each one different, but of course all sharing a commonality of an impairment. And this, it's the lower leg and the level of function. You'll see some of the players with amputations, equally just no longer the use of their legs. And this, the movement from PALLARES, has got the ball. She will take what is available, and it's not a whole lot right now. Maybe a three-pointer. That pass, you really like to see just how assertive she is. Have they used the full ramp? They have, but they have had it fall out the other side. But really like the baseball throw that she just will toss it in, and she chucks it as if she is a pitcher on the mound, and she's trying to strike you out. And there is another 2 points for Canada on the inside. Young, she's a good target. And 12 assists. Canada equally as good distributing the ball. We'll look through their scoring so far. And every player with some action has been involved so far in this game for the Canadians. And there are just a couple still yet to score. 3 in total, actually. LALONDE, Jan, and HAWTIN. The 3 yet to get some points. So spread pretty well. Young, though, now has become the leading scorer, number 6, with 10 points. She's got double digits. And there you see her there now, as it will be an inbound, and Argentina have to go deep below their own baseline to restart play. She's going to break into some space here, PALLARES. If she puts that up and in, that really is good going. 2 defenders just running right alongside of her. That was Ferguson and Young. And full respect, she's got speed in her arsenal too. She'll go to the line. She'll shoot 2. And Argentina electing to pull out, be back in a defensive position in readiness for Canada's transition here coming off this rebound. So neither will fall. PALLARES will provide the first wave of a 4-court press. Ferguson, the veteran, the feed internally to Young, and Young is swatted as quickly by a couple Argentinians before she gets the shot off. And you see the big maple leaf on the back of her right shoulder. The Canadians so willing, you'll see it in their travels equally with their badges, the big maple leaf on their knapsacks, on their luggage, wherever it may be. Have maple leaf, will travel. As this, the last possession, into Young as she got the range. It'll go off the front of the rim, and PALLARES again. An outstanding half, though, and full credit to PALLARES as the distributor of the ball, taking the shots that were available to her, and then the rebounding as well. And just to give you an idea of what she's delivering, she's got the 3 rebounds, just the 1 assist, but she has 4 points in her 10 minutes, and it's been good going against the side, the Canadians heavily favored in this one. And the score after the full first half of play, 20 minutes now played and in the books for this one. It's a Group A match in the preliminary round, and Canada are leading Argentina 34-10 at halftime. And a look across the stats, still in the 50% range for the field goal shooting for Canada. The defensive rebounds, impressive, an advantage there. The points from turnovers, those are always an indication at how well they're taking advantage of the chances that are available or given to them ultimately. If you make a team have to earn everything that they're gonna get, you're gonna find the scoreline a lot tighter. It's the free and easy points that get given up that often creates the differential on the scoreboard. The kiss cam is rolling around inside the Rio Olympic Arena, and the red and white are here in great support as well. You hear the roar, and the Fill the Seats program for the Rio de Janeiro youth, the school children, has been an incredible success, but nothing like a crowd draws a crowd. And I've been across the park and seen the throngs of people, and I will give this honest comparison. There is as many people here for the Paralympic Games in the big park area as there was for the Olympics. It's been incredible so far. Hope you're enjoying the action. The second half is coming up just after the break. the second half coming up, and Canada in firm control right now. Up by a 2-4, as they might refer to it in the northern part of North America. But this is the preliminary round, and it's the third matchup for Argentina in their opening couple matches, taking on the host nation Brazil, a very rude awakening into the Paralympic Games in the women's wheelchair basketball, an abrupt 85-19 defeat. And Great Britain, not much kinder. They had a great second quarter. They were only defeated 10-6 against the Canadians, who took a very impressive start, 24-4 in that opening quarter. And what, in fact, will be the third quarter story come the end of the 10 minutes now, just about to start. Canada from the near line on the inbound to McLaughlin. McLaughlin from a three-point range, she's got it. That's the way to start the opening sequence in the third quarter. And she really is impressive. 2008, her first competition in Beijing, and then 2012 coming across, but she is an interesting story. Her real ambition is to share her sporting experiences and help children in developing countries benefit from access to sport, well, just simply competing here in South America, opening the eyes to so many. And I've been telling this number, and it really almost belies logic or belief, but there's a suggestion or the fact that 40 million Brazilians have an impairment of in one form or another in a country of just over 200 million. It really is an incredible story. So important, therefore, that the Paralympic movement comes to South America for the first time and showcases its spirit, strength, and in abominable spirit, really, as much as anything. It's PALLARES from the outside. She'll look for a three. She goes off the front of the rim, and she tries to match up against Janet McLaughlin. And that is the encouragement of the opening play. You play against better teams, you're going to get better. And that's where Argentina's at the moment. But they'll face another McLaughlin shot. This one will go out. Again, look at her. She's just all manner of present in that key area, and she's got 4 cracks at it. She's the long arms and the strength, most importantly. So education and geography, her two majors, both at the University of Victoria in Alberta and also the University of Alabama. She's currently living in Germany. She's got the ball again, and she's a one-woman wrecking machine right now. She'll just loft it forward, and it's going to be a foul against Argentina that elect to do the only thing that looks available to them. Maybe prevent a little bit of a roadblock. And it's PALLARES, who's ultimately a speed bump as she goes right around her, but the foul assessed early, and that's what you see from PALLARES. She really has no fear, goes into those zones, and really enjoy watching her compete equally as well. And it's going to be a Canada timeout utilized here in the just over the opening 2 minutes of play in this third quarter. Cardarelli utilizing the opportunity just to reset the decks. But you can't give McLaughlin that many chances, and you can't really fault Argentina defensively. They just really were up against a player who was able to make things happen for herself, and she just individually is dominant and capable. She's got the ball again. It's like she's got metal in her fingertips, and there's a magnet in the ball. Canada with the 2-point score there into their number 13, Jamey Jules. She's a 1.0 classified player. 27 years of age, and now Argentina come right back. Rebounded. And this OUELLET, haven't seen as much of her offensively. The lion's share of the load so far is being borne on the shoulders there of that lady, Janet McLaughlin. She's got 13 points. OUELLET just with 4, but don't necessarily need to have huge totals in order to be effective. They're preparing themselves equally for, there'll be other games, of course, that come in the preliminary round. They feel confident with a 29-point lead. They're in the position they need to be, but it's about getting every player activated and at the peak of their performance at the right time, and not about necessarily running up the score. But the score is important. It could be a determining factor in a tie-break criteria that Canada will need to have to their advantage, and they come right up, the two of them. Trying to take out PALLARES. She has been able to free herself up. The offload into her, she's getting worked, and she does the full fall and over. And you're seeing the Canadian attempting to get to her. This is going to be PALLARES trying to get over onto her front. She does well. Can she pop up from there? It's going to be OUELLET coming in, gives her a little bit of the tow truck treatment, and she's up and upright. Those are the moments that are great to watch, and you see it very clearly in Paralympic sport. And they just drive into each other like that, don't they? Butt up one another and just give a couple of reinforcements in which to push up, and that's the arms, or equally the wheels, on the opponent's chair in that situation. It was exactly OUELLET helping out PALLARES. She's going to go to the line, though, for the shots, and those are really just special moments to watch in any competition. OUELLET will take that one down. A little bit of stick 'em. She's just able to wrap that ball right under her clutches. She's got it as firmly in her grasp as she would a clutch purse. This for Canada from the top of the line. OUELLET with the secure possession, can't quite get the release that she wants. The extension goes off the front of the rim. And PALLARES now trying to take advantage of some of her speed, but she is being ushered along by the Canadian procession, and they are in great defensive alignment. But look, the pass inside, and that is glorious vision. A good eye for where the open player was, and PALLARES is showing you just how multi-skilled she is, and that's what you love to see. She's really fighting an uphill battle against the depth of quality from Canada. But she's doing the best she can. There's give and go. That's like the Harlem Globetrotters, the way the Canadian women attack the basket there. Move it around in a triangular motion. And the Canadian coaching staff on the left is Billy Johnson. His brother, of course, Joey Johnson, playing with the Canadian men's wheelchair basketball team. He's no longer competing. And remember, the Canadian men's winning 3 of the last 4 Paralympic golds, taking all the way back to Sydney. Obviously Athens, they lost in the final to Australia in Beijing, and then the victory in London as well. But maybe a little bit of a transitional time for the Canadian men. But Joey Johnson, who is the brother, the player, to Bill, the coach for the Canadian women here now, is now the assistant coach for Great Britain. And if you follow that clearly, you've done well, as it will wrap off the rim, and it'll be followed up by the Canadians and put in with another couple points. The long play up, and PALLARES is the real wide receiver. She'll deliver that. She's like the quarterback, as you might see in American football. She's not afraid to sling it from the holster. There she attempts with the shot, but she can receive it as well. She's got great dexterity, great hand coordination. This, however, is just going to be a little bit long and strong, and it will leave the end of the court on her own. There was Rosalie Lalonde, the 19-year-old, a 3.0 classified player. And she equally, all of the players have a compass for where Pallares is. They find her as quick as true north. She's the prime target on the court for Argentina. But another score and some balance coming. That coming through Castaldi. The shot, oh, that really is as sweet as some maple syrup from the Canadian. Just sweet string music right in the bottom of the mesh. And nothing but net. Argentina just settling in. Buckle up. As here they come. Grasp there. That was over the back, really. To take that, just following the track of that ball, and then the two hands to take it in. Right into the old basket. Well taken. Argentina looking more comfortable, more relaxed. There, the bank shot attempted. This is going to take something to get them that shot in amongst the Canadian Maples. But they will actually take a foul, Canada, trying to get in the shooting lane. And there it was just a contact. Rosalie Lalonde gets herself a fistful of the Argentinians' hairnet there. And the inbound now coming from the South Americans. Will they shoot from the outside? They've got a look at it. Why not take it? It's been well considered. And OUELLET will just take this one up, wrap it into her possession, and this again. A little bit of auxiliary contact. And we've got a need for some help. Really, she needs to try her best to get over, if she can, onto her front. And this is one of the things that you see. It looks like she's suggesting her right elbow is sore, and it would be. The way they go down, it's not as if they wear elbow pads, and there's nothing compromising about the hard court of the floor here. And yes, they'll have a support sort of sponge is the best way to describe it underneath this wood surface that's been laid. Obviously under that is concrete, so going down hard, and even if it is from the shorter heights of the wheelchair, they just never know in which position they're going to fall, whether it's going to need to be a bracing of the right arm, left, who they're going to be bouncing off on the way down. And that really is how most of these women and all of the athletes play. They play to the full extent of their ability. And if they're going to fall and have a problem en route, well, that's part of it. Taking it in, well received, a strong passing play. And there's some new scoring for Canada. That was speed coming in. That was Amanda Jan, who will take that one. Those are her first points. And rather, she's got a couple now. She's got 4 points total, but really that her most notable one, just to have taken that into her mark and then elevated the shot. LINARI, who scored the first basket for Argentina today, just a little unsure where she wants to go. That's an interesting approach. That's the right over the top. She's in a better position here. She'll score. And that, I'm not quite sure what to call the first shot attempt as far as the preferred style. The second one, well, it was pretty fundamental. The first one, creative, is probably the best way to describe it, as it was just now the Canadians into the lane, and they will take the motion available. And waiting, that is Darda Sales to come into the match. And she, the 34-year-old, a 4.0 classified player. So just to remind again, once they touch the wheels, those are, you get 2 touches before you must bounce it, pass it, or shoot it. And there you see the slinging approach coming from LINARI. She's going to go over the top again. That's the old sky hook. And that one will just rip off the rim and back out around for the Canadian rebound. I think that's what we're going to go with, the sky hook, when we see LINARI go with the wrap around from deep below her wheelchair seat height. Coming right from the lace tops. It's almost like a javelin toss. But Argentina, they're going to have to get over this line quickly. They just do. 8 seconds in which to do it, and it was a 5-woman front from the Canadians who've just thrown up the, well, it's a border crossing, isn't it? They need a passport, Argentina. It's going to have to be renewed, though. That from distance is not going to permit them to have a couple more points on the board, and Canada with the inbound now. Rosalie Lalonde. He's just kind of run into a blind alley here. The pass in to the Canadian, and that sails just over 5 minutes of time. She's got a couple points so far, but she's taken 3 attempts at it. That one just goes high off the glass and off the front of the rim. And they're going to count that there. Is it over and back? Or they were able to just get the timeout called. OLMEDO is making her way off the floor, and she does get a timeout just to reset things with 14.9. Ferguson, a great warrior for Canada. And this expected. Here it comes. We're going to see a shot. It's going to be more of a set shot this time. A good go at it from LINARI, more traditional in her attempt. And for Ferguson, she will run out of time before she even gets up over the halfway point. And Canada with 19 points in the third quarter. Back rolling again better offensively for themselves. They concede 8 to Argentina. And that leaves the score after 3 quarters of play in the women's wheelchair basketball in Group A. It's Canada 53, Argentina 18. .57% shooting total in the 2-point range, and you see really double the accuracy coming from Canada. Rebounds as well, more than double, and the scoreline reflecting it. Equally the points from turnovers. Canada are executing according to plan and maybe was expected in this matchup, but it's been a very valiant performance from Argentina. There's no quit in them. They were not in London. This a chance to shine on the world's brightest stage in their sport, and they're giving it as good as they've got. This crowd is loving it equally, and why wouldn't you? It really is a special event to witness. Canada 53-18 over Argentina at the moment, going into the 4th and final quarter of action. It's just their second matchup, Canada. They played Great Britain in their opening contest. They were able to get the victory over the mother country. And in the 7 points advantage, that goes right through the hands of PALLARES. And then, well, Argentina, they've not had as comfortable a travel through this tournament so far. They've loved every moment of it, been great experience, but they have been learning, shall we say, from the stronger nations in this tournament, both Brazil and Great Britain, giving them a pretty good going over. As the total scoring in the 2 games prior for Argentina was 39 points, and the total amount conceded was 164. They come out now, Canada, and assert themselves again, going to the line. very impressive shoulder development in number 11. This is Darda Sales, and depending on your generation and where you're watching, but some might say she's even jacked. She's got tremendous power. She'll hit that one from the free throw line. Into the position up now for Argentina to try to advance this ball. This is where they start to run out of steam, though. They get it over that center line pretty well, and from here they start going to the cupboard to look for a few deeper options. Their first selections not really available, so go deep. This is where it comes, the shot there, up and over, and that's the launching from three-point range. I have to be honest, though, those are pretty low percentage shots, but they are doing their best, Argentina, to try and make something of it. But that is trickery that you most normally will have seen from the showman that is the Harlem Globetrotters. Don't really see that necessarily in the NBA, though, do you either? And it's not intended necessarily to be trickery. It's just Argentina in a desperation, trying to get a shot off before the buzzing of the shot clock, and that's the way this Canadian defense is forming itself, up high in their own defensive half and just not giving access low towards their basket. So this another fallen Argentinian. Olmedo is down. One thing you don't see as much in wheelchair basketball is the need for coming out and replacing the wheels. You'll see that in wheelchair rugby, where the contact of the chairs obviously encouraged. It happens in wheelchair basketball, but it's not legal, and they allow a certain element of incidental contact. But you'll see it where they actually take the wheel right off in wheelchair rugby, and it looks like they're in pit lane in Formula One, as they will bring out a couple, and then they have the mat as well they generally bring out to make sure they try to just keep the moisture off the floor. Cardarelli still mapping out the route to some treasure in this one. And it's going to be, it's only going to be small pieces of it. I don't think the pot of gold is at the end of a rainbow here of the fourth quarter for Argentina. They are 40 points adrift, but there are small victories that are available to them to continue to build their overall offense in this tournament. They could go through their best score as yet against Great Britain, where they scored 20. Cardarelli, I'm sure speaking English there, trying to make out just exactly what language is being spoken. Argentinian, but it's Portuguese that is the main language in Brazil. Into the key area, and a chance to just lob that one up. The follow through, this will be Ferguson. So I hazard a guess, that's Spanish. That was being spoken by Cardarelli. That's the prime language in Argentina. But there are parts of Argentina that have pockets of Welsh spoken in it, in Patagonia. But there are languages of all manner spoken in all countries nowadays. Let's be honest, as this one will be taken by Rosalie Lalonde and on to the scoreboard for Canada. It was a game in game 2 where the French coach speaking French, and it was needing to be translated to his team. And whether it's being translated into English, just because the main language is is known. The coach may be international, coming from elsewhere. You see it where there's been American coaches coaching in China and then needing to have a Chinese interpreter for the American coach who just knows English, feels most comfortable giving their instruction in English. And so that is an interesting dynamic, having an interpreter as you're trying to deliver a direct message to your team. And they can tell, certainly by the look in your eyes and how direct you are with your hand language. English pretty well versed in Brazil, though. It is the worldwide, but not to be assumed that every nation is fluent in it. It will be Rosalie Lalonde to score again for Canada. Well, they're going to get that. That's rather, sorry, it's Jan who gets that one. So Amanda Jan and Lalonde, very similar, 8 and number 9 for Canada. So that now takes Jan to 8 points. And Canada, except for HAWTIN, is the only one who has not scored. She's number 15. She's had over 18 minutes of play. They'll probably try and have a look at her and that celebration. That's the double number ones, I'm sure, pointing up to her family and friends' support in the crowd. Getting to score for Argentina, and that will level their best so far in the tournament. It was GB that they scored 20 against. You wouldn't doubt PALLARES to have another go at it. Immediately, though, when she does have it, they're like bees to honey, the Canadians, just swarming around whenever PALLARES has the ball. She's the most likely to be dangerous and effective. There's a shot. It's off the rim if they can get to it, and it just pops right in as a freebie. It's like a free ball, really, in volleyball, just right into the hands of the awaiting Canadian. This from Ferguson, a little bit of shake and bake, and that one's going to drop out of the oven and not, in fact, cook itself up for another couple Canadian points. And down goes an Argentinian again, and I would love to see them, if they could, make the effort to get onto their front and try their best to get upright on their own. As it just seems rather a curious thing, the referees allowing play to continue. You do see that in rugby, where if the player is down, you see it more so even in ice hockey nowadays, where the play is allowed to continue. You see it in football to a degree as well, but here the referees allow play to carry on, and there is an expectation that the athletes need to try their best and to be able to get themselves upright again. There you see the contact, not fully aware of it, trying to provide a screen for LINARI to come in behind her, Almedo. And then she wasn't aware that there was already 2 poised Canadians in position awaiting her arrival. This is Young. She had such a great start to this match, but then there has been the distribution. We haven't seen a lot of McLaughlin since, but McLaughlin still leads this Canadian side. She had 13 points. She only had 6 minutes of play. You talk about putting it in the bank. Well, she's a real financier. She was depositing time and time again into the basket. And not a whole lot of withdrawal with only 6 minutes played. She comes out and puts up a baker's dozen of 13 for Canada just to get the party started. Inside now, the remaining 4 minutes of action in this match. And Young just sees it slip beyond her grasp. There, a little bit like a hot potato. She's grabbed it now, and it's up. She just juggles it between her 2 hands, and she's drawn the foul as she was in the act of shooting. Second shot. for Erica GAVEL. The 25-year-old. And she isn't able to make them count. So 0 for 2 from the free throw stripe. And PALLARES, can she increase the best total yet for Argentina? You're right, she can. As she just slices that in. And that is well placed. Rattles around the rack for a moment, and that is effortless from LALONDE. She takes the space available to her, and then the flattery of an extra shot from the free throw line as well. And she's got a three-point play. Those are great victories. Being able to, particularly in this sport, when you lose your balance and you're being compromised going up. That one was just a contested shot, a little bit of a contact on LALONDE's hand, but now 22 points, the best total so far for Argentina in the tournament. This is a lob pass internally, and Young just smothers her. Up and on the board, and everybody's involved in the scoring now. 2 points for HAWTIN, and that's her second shot on the day. And now the Canadians a full 12-pack of scoring players in this their second match in the tournament, and that really is a victory. It takes some doing, doesn't it? It's not simply about having your dominant players carry the entire load. It's about every single one of them across the 10 provinces, 2 territories, shouldering their part of the mail and providing the service onto the scoreboard. Shouldn't miss out Nunavut either. That's the newest territory in Canada. But none of the players from this particular lineup originate from there, but this is going to be a shot from Young. And now inside these remaining 2 minutes of this fourth quarter. From here, this is Almeida, want to keep her upright, as this is going to be a crashing fall, and she again prone. She's onto her back, and that's where she will stay. And you see the very relaxed approach of the assistant coach coming across. She needs uprighting again. And she looks as though she's potentially jarred her shoulder there. Maybe the Canadians might just grab her, but they're locked in. The release letting her go as they were wrapped up, and that has to be frustrating all the time. Getting the wheels and the bumper of the opposition wrapped up on your wheels. You want to feel the flow, you want to keep your momentum, and you're constantly having somebody in the way, making it more difficult. Kind of just wrapped up into you. There again, they've got themselves a 2-4 pack of points. Argentina just increasing their best performance so far. LALONDE will go off the front of the rim, and no contest for that rebound. There's a little bit of relaxed play comes across the court. They're the leading scorers. McLaughlin with 13, LINARI with 8. LINARI has done that lobbing effort. PALLARES has really distributed the ball exceedingly well for Argentina with 6. And there you see Young with the 12 points. And then the next highest scorer is OUELLET with 8. And a little bit of Hey Jude from the Beatles now rings out around the Rio Olympic Arena. Inside the last minute of what's been a good performance from both sides. Argentina will take something from this one. Another couple points would equally feel better, and they've done it. PALLARES there now has just got herself up to 8 in total. So she levels with LINARI as the joint top scorers. Canada right back. They need no invitation. So this really, it might seem odd that the timeouts are being called, particularly when the result is all but certain. But it's about having the concentration of your players. You've got a good crowd out here paying attention, keeps your focus, keeps the players paying attention to what your message is. Because once they go into the changing room, that time is their own, as they will unwind and then prepare themselves to recover and get ready for the next match to come. And this really is, in live play, the best chance to communicate with your team about how you want to finish and pay attention to the small points of the game. And that looks like a little bit of surfing and maybe a cross of belly dancing as well, as you see the core strength of these athletes that need to use that, need to use their core, and they do move back and forth so that they don't touch their wheels and force themselves to have to either bounce or pass or shoot the ball. Because sometimes they're just trying to wind their way through a little open channel and catch a seam in the defense, and the only way they can generate that power is through their core, moving back and forth, almost slaloming into those spaces. They'll need to make a play internally. They do, and it's just as quick in the back of the rack. And that is Castaldi, the veteran, 49 years young, and she puts herself 6 points now on the board, just over 2 minutes work. So she may be long in years, but she's quick in action to have got as many points as she has today in her little bit of floor time. But the seconds will, in fact, now evaporate. Argentina maybe with one more. She's going to wrap it up for safety. And it's going to just get away, though, at the end. And that really was a good performance. I think that Cardarelli will feel decent about that. The Canadians, they did their job. Looking a little bit calm and sedated. They're probably still looking to have that morning coffee. They get started with the first match of the day in day 3, and they come out and do their work. And now they've got that done, they can have a little bit of respite and a recovery time in the remainder of it. As they've just played their second game, they had that full day off in day 2. And there you see some of the veteran experience and the high fives all the way down the line. That's universal code for, hey, respect. And now the acknowledgement of both of these teams from within the Rio Olympic Arena. Great support and appreciation of the commitment that they have all made to be in this moment. It's not for everybody, and nor is it made available to everyone.